book connectors, we may be in for a doozy. Come on in, let me explain. Hello, book connectors. Welcome back to the Book Connection. I am your host, Blue-Eyed Black Devil. Visitors, should you happen upon the channel, feel free to join us. We'd love to have you here. Okay, so this person is someone I really know next to nothing about. So let me just put it out there to you this way, book connectors. If I were to ask who was and probably still is considered to be the king of late night television, would you know? If you're smarter than me, you probably do know, but I didn't. But you may have some idea. If you think you know, I will probably confirm it with this next statement. When you hear the phrase, or heard the phrase, "Here's Johnny," da 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 da. Okay, that's all I really know, but I am speaking of the legendary Mr. King of late night television himself, Johnny Carson. Okay, I read 3 books about Johnny Carson, and like I said in the Aretha books, there's not a dime of difference in any of these books about him as well. I admit I'm probably not doing my due diligence on this particular video because for some reason I just didn't see much or anything, but I learned a lot that I never knew. Now, like I said earlier, I really didn't know anything about him. I used to just hear his name from time to time. I think it's been even more recently they found some more stuff out. But anyway, let me tell you the little bit I did learn. John William Carson was born on October 23rd, 1925, to parents Homer and Ruth Carson. He had one older sister and one younger brother. Now, here is my, the way I think about this. I hate to keep harping on things that happen in our childhood, and if not resolved, it will most definitely carry on over into our adult lives. And so this seems to be the case with him, although there was nothing just right there at you explaining. He just didn't really care to discuss like his childhood. And what I did read, it sounds like Johnny himself may have had really, really bad hang-ups of connecting with those who loved him. I assume they loved him. He didn't. He was just always to himself, by himself, and if he just had to interact with somebody, he could only do it if it was some sort of a performance thing. But as far as just kicking back, watching TV, or chit-and-chat with your parents, or even having interaction with your siblings, at very best, he just seemed to have tolerated everything. When he was still younger, right before it was time for him to start the school, they moved to Nebraska, and that's where he just moved there with his family. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed that it seems the bonding, it was prematurely interrupted because he had issues. Now, let me see, where do I want to begin? In one of those books, I think is King of the Night by Henry Bushkin. He said that he just never would have thought that Johnny would call him his best friend. So in other words, Bushkin never thought Johnny considered him to be his best friend. Now, it was that way because Bushkin, why am I having so much trouble saying that word? Anyway, he did a lot for Johnny. He did become his close friend, his confidant, his drinking buddy, his tennis partner. I believe on occasion they even dated. Would go on double dates together. But it's been stated over and over and over again that Johnny Carson just had trouble. Well, it seems like he didn't have trouble making relationships. He just couldn't keep them. He didn't know how to stay or not run people off. He was married 3 times. The first one was to his high school sweetheart. I think her name was Jody Walcott. They had 3 children together, all sons. They married in 1949 and divorced, was it 1960? Somewhere along in there. Then he married this other lady, and that didn't last, maybe a couple of years. Then the one he was married to at the time of his death, she had actually left him a few times, but she always went back, and that's why she was still listed as the wife, when he did pass away. And that's the same wife. He called Bushkin to his house one day, or to his office. When he got in there, it was Johnny and some other man. I think the other man was a PI, private investigator. Anyway, Bushkin said right before Johnny was telling him why he had called him in there, he says to both of them, why do I feel like we're up to, y'all got something going on in this that might be considered suspect. And that's when Johnny tells Henry, or Bushkin, I think it'd be easier for me to just say Henry. That's when Johnny told Henry that he wanted them to break into, because he found out, let me back this all the way up. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. But anyway, Johnny never did mind providing for his wives or his children. But this third wife, he noticed that every time she did or he saw where she had done something on paper, but he could never see any signs of it in the house, he decided to get the PI to see if she was cheating on him. When he got the results, that's when he called Henry to the office to, plan how they going to break in the house, because he found the apartment the woman was leased, and it was in Johnny's name. That was the tripped out part to me. How you going to secretly move out, but you going to make your husband you trying to get away from pay for it? But that's what happened. And Henry said, he told them, Johnny, we really don't need to do all of this because your name is the one that's on that lease. So technically, you don't have to break in because it is on your list. But yet and still, they all went in there. When they got in there, they saw the wife with whatever man she was messing around. They finally came down the elevator, and according to Henry, Johnny just was so sad. So he just got in the corner for the longest and cried. I think he said for right at an hour. Nobody could console him or anything. And I know that had to hurt. It's one thing to suspect it and another to find out you're right. But he said, she's not going to get anything of mine. So I guess they got through all of that. And then they were together, I think it was like 25 years before she died. They had lived there. And then as far as his children goes, I think it goes back to him not being able to bond with his siblings or his parents. And like I said, he didn't mind providing for children. He just didn't have any use for them. Never mind the fact that they needed him, growing up. But I think it's the middle child. He had one name, Corey Carson. Then there was Richard Carson, they called him Rick. And then Christopher Carson. And the middle one, Rick, ended up getting killed in a nasty car wreck. So that left the other two boys, but he didn't really seem to, try to mend their relationships. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. He didn't really try to mend their relationships with him. So they just went on back to business as usual. The mama, she might get mad and stay gone, but she'll be right back. Now listen, that's enough chaos in anybody's life, but then he was notorious for his feuding with celebrities in particular. The one I can remember hearing about was apparently whenever Johnny Carson was not going to tape a show, maybe he was out of town, maybe, personal day, whatever, he always asked Joan Rivers to host for him. And she did. But mind you, Joan was trying to get her own talk show. But she never turned Johnny down until she got her talk show. When he found out she had gotten a talk show, he never really ever said a word to her for the rest of his natural, and hers too, as it turns out, natural lives. He was just that mad that she bothered to get her show. He did not like that. He did not like that at all. Then several celebrities took offense to him making jokes or uses them as the butt of jokes in his opening monologues. So he was into it with people like that. Then he was also into it with that man named Wayne Newton. Isn't that the one they call Mr. Las Vegas or something like that? Anyway, Johnny was arguing back and forth and accusing Wayne of doing all kinds of nefarious things and blah, blah, blah. And then finally Wayne had gotten enough of it, so he went to Johnny's office and confronted him and told him point blank, in essence, you're going to keep my name out your mouth. Because if you don't, you will be dealt with. And so that kind of carried that one on out. Now back to his first wife, the woman he had his children with. She, they had a whole lot of, it was like high infidelity there in that marriage on both parties' parts. But he would do things, he was like, I guess that's womanized and stuff. He used to go with this one and that one. Sometimes he didn't mind flaunting his mistress in his wife's face, all this kind of stuff. And I never knew like I said, I didn't know nothing about it. But he had quite a volatile temper. From time to time, he laid hands on his women too. But compounding all of that, he had a problem with alcohol. He was arrested a couple of times as a result of drinking. And so I just don't know what I was doing that I never heard anything I'm talking about. All I knew was the Tonight Show. He was excuse me, that's where he got his title, King of Late Night Television, was The Tonight Show. He hosted that show from 1962 to 1992. He stepped in when Jack Parr stepped down or retired. So it was his baby. He did that for 30 whole years. But one night he called Henry to come to some bar. He gets there and nobody's in there but Johnny and the bartender. And so Johnny was feeling pretty good and stuff, and he told Henry, like, I don't know why I cannot keep a wife or anybody faithful to me. That's thanks to my mother. And he just goes on to bash his mom, saying, she did that by design because she didn't want him basically with anybody, or she just wanted to be the one to call the shots and this, that, and the other. And he was like, I love her. Then he said something about his dad. He said, but I love him. I do love him, but especially the mom seems to be the one who he took most of his shenanigans out on his women in his own adult life. So, as parents, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. So I just took all of that in with the grain of salt and the long handle, long handle spoon, because it was a bit much. Now, when he did get his own talk show and he was coming around, I think it was considered a variety show, not talk show, but anyway, it was late night variety. When he did get that position, he hired his brother. I think the brother was some sort of a producer on the show, and a little while, one of his sons worked there, but basically everybody left it because he was just difficult to deal with once the cameras went off. Now, on camera, he was considered charming, witty, jovial, personable. Oh, we could just go on and on and on. He made you feel like, you were only talking to you, according to what I read. But as soon as the lights went out, then I guess I would say the real him popped out. Now, he wasn't just volatile every day. Like one time, he had invested with somebody, and then he decided, no, you're bringing in another person in the group. I want my money back. And so Henry was telling him, no, you can't. He said, well, I should. Oh, that's what it was. He had paid somebody to build him some sort of a house. And he had, at the time, when he decided he no longer wanted it, he had only put a third of the cost toward the project. So Henry told him, well, now, you cannot get that back. He said, but I didn't agree to this or whatever. He was just adamant that he wanted his money back. And Henry was like, listen, Johnny, if you go to any, especially upscale restaurant, and order a steak, you eat 2/3 of the steak, you cannot get up and tell them you didn't eat but 2/3 and you want that third of your money back. That's not how it works. But he just seemed to be down for causing arguments unnecessarily, so just very combative. And all I can figure is that something was, whatever broke in his childhood, because like I said, he never said that they did anything to him. He never let on that he felt slighted. I wonder, why he got that way. And how long did he, when he, his brother came there to work for him and stuff, I wonder what the dynamic was like. Although they said that They got along well. I don't think they ever hung out outside the show much unless it was family business. But other than that, and they never did say what the sister did or I don't know. I think this is going to wrap this one up because it's tired of too many loose ends that I can't seem to wrap up. He was just a total enigma. Loved you, loved you, loved you, or when he was performing. But when the lights go out, the real him. Someone, I think they said it was Dick Cavett. He was also a variety show, and he said Johnny Carson was the most private, public person he had ever known. He simply just didn't have socializing skills. He didn't know how to deal with people outside of sitting on his couch. Whew. Okay, book connectors. I know this is empty, but I just wanted to put it out there because I knew I had never heard anything much about him, but it was a fascinating read. I just hate the fact that over and over and over in these books we hear how hard of a life these people had or have growing up. But then when they get grown, well, I guess you wouldn't have a reason to change because you don't see anything wrong with what it is. Because I would have to sit there and look at me at some point, especially when that third marriage started crumbling. Okay, anyway, that's all for now. So, please, subscribers, thanks for being subscribed. And visitors, feel free to join us. And by all means, everybody, please like, share, comment respectfully. And like I just said, if you haven't subscribed, please feel free to subscribe. Oh, yeah. And make sure you have your notification bells on so you'll know every time I upload a video. Now, book connectors, remember this. As long as there are books around, there is always something to read. Have a great weekend, book connectors. Hopefully, I'll see you soon.